Hi everyone, I'm Nara Chagas and this is what's happening in Brazil. We start by updating you on the latest news from the country. On Sunday, August 27, President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva arrived at São Tomé and Príncipe to attend the 14th Conference of Heads of State and Government of the Community of Portuguese-Speaking Countries. The Brazilian president made a speech at the opening ceremony and stressed the union among the group's countries on topics such as fighting food insecurity and supporting sustainable development. The Federal Supreme Court has accepted a complaint by the articulation of the indigenous peoples of Brazil on police violence against indigenous communities in Mato Grosso do Sul state. According to the association, the state government disregards and disrespects the fundamental rights of indigenous peoples when they use the military police to carry out violence and illegal evictions. Investigations point out the failures of the federal government protection program for human rights defenders and the murder case of Quilombola leader Bernadette Pacifico, which we showed last week. Although she had been inserted in the program since 2017, she was shot dead in front of her 3 grandchildren. Among the failures, broken cameras and effective police rounds. It's not easy to be a female politician in Brazil. According to a study launched last week by the organization Coding Rights, 1 of 10 mentions of female politicians on social media accounts in Brazil expressed some kind of violence. Among the most recurring attacks, there are privacy violations, dissemination of false information, and hate speech. A victory of the landless workers' movement. Last week, the government of Alagoas State made official the creation of an agrarian reform settlement in Alagoas countryside. Families that have been producing food in that region for 15 years say that the decision will strengthen the production of healthy food. The 15th BRICS Summit finished on August 24. At the end of the event that took place in South Africa, President Lula talked to the press and evaluated the summit.
President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva made a press conference to share his assessment on the BRICS Summit, which resulted in 6 new members and the perspective of using the BRICS members' currencies in transactions and investments. Lula stated that was one of the most important meetings he have ever attended in his political career. He reiterated his compliments to the group's evolution in both organizational and economic terms. The president stressed that with the newcomers, Saudi Arabia, Argentina, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, Ethiopia, and Iran, the group now represents almost 37% of global GDP.
The arrival of Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, Ethiopia, and Iran is very important because, we don't know if you remember, but since we were at the university, you know that we were the third world. After a time, they got tired of calling us third world and began to name us developing countries. Now we are at the global south. Listen to the changes, how pompous it is for people to say, let's talk to the global south. The closer and bigger we are, the better our chances will be when negotiating with other groups. Or at least we will have more guarantees of being treated on equal terms, and not with the superb common among enslavers when dealing with enslaved people.
The last day of the summit was dedicated to talks with the so-called BRICS friends. Over 40 chiefs of state and representatives of Middle Eastern, Latin American, and African countries made speeches throughout the day. Argentina, one of the BRICS new members, sent a message from its president, Alberto Fernandez.
Es un anhelo de años que hoy empezamos a completar.
It is a years-long aspiration that starts to become true today. We are even more honored that Argentina joined this group of nations that reflects the emerging multipolarity and gathers countries that certainly have a unique and uniform perspective on all the problems we face. However, they respect differences, seek common denominators, and try to influence the global order in an unstable, unequal world which concentrates income in the hands of a few and distributes poverty and deprivation among millions. Once Mandela wondered whether, when the history of our time be written down, we will be remembered for doing the right thing or for turning our backs on the global crisis. Faced with the dilemma you presented, we are doing the right thing today about global problems that cannot be resolved unilaterally.
During the speech to share the summit results, Lula highlighted BRICS' commitment to support a change in the criteria for admission of permanent members in the UN Security Council. Lula has been demanding this since his first term.
Vocês sabem que em 48
You know that in 1948, the UN created the State of Israel. Today, the UN can't avoid the massacre of Palestinians or comply with its own decisions. The members of the UN Security Council decide to wage wars without listening to its members. Nobody consulted other countries about the Iraq War. Nobody consulted other countries about invading Libya.
On the last day of the summit, Lula met Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, Bolivia's President Luis Arce, and Iran's President Sayed Ibrahim Raisi.
Although acknowledged as an intangible cultural heritage by UNESCO and as an Brazilian cultural heritage by the National Institute of Historical and Artistic Heritage, also known as IPHAN, Capoeira still faces challenges to reach a real acknowledgement for the practice and its practitioners.
Capoeira, a symbol of resistance and Afro-Brazilian cultural identity, represents a live and vibrant historical legacy that crosses generations and transcends borders. The preservation of ancestral memory is strengthened above all in the so-called Capoeira de Angola, during capoeira circles whose rhythm is marked by chants sang all around the country. Alan is what is known as countermaster and is part of the group Semente do Jogo de Angola, which carries out activities in the Grajaú region, one of the São Paulo neighborhoods with the highest number of Afro-Brazilians.
As seen currently, capoeira is an Afro-Brazilian practice, but it is strongly related to other African cultural manifestations from other movements, such as dances, fights, and war dances that came from the African continent and arrived here in Brazil through enslaved black people.
To Alan, capoeira is a philosophy of life and shouldn't be limited to certain definitions.
According to capoeira master Pastinha, capoeira is a way for you to seek balance to survive in this society that is oppressive, sexist, racist, and fascist. It arose as a way to resist these oppressions. Master Pastinha used to say that capoeira is the mandinga of enslaved people and an urge for freedom.
For 33 years, the group Semente do Jogo de Angola has been developing activities under the lineage of Master Pastinha. Their work, which started in Salvador, Bahia's capital city, is currently in 5 other states. The group also develops activities in Costa Rica, Colombia, Canada, New Zealand, Italy, Japan, France, and Israel. Capoeira player Simone Gomes da Silva have been part of the project for 20 years.
A capoeira é isso, ela é muita coisa, né?
Capoeira is a lot of things when we find it. It's a movement that presents an encounter with my ancestral relatives, my ancestrality. Today, it's the search for who I am, where I come from, where I'm going, my balance in life, my emotions, mind, body, and soul. So it's a bunch of things. For me, capoeira is a complement to my life. I can't live without it.
Another crucial element Simone mentions is female participation in capoeira as a way of resisting oppression.
Foi difícil chegar até aqui, né?
It was hard to get this far. Capoeira comes from a sexist movement. Just recently, it opened up to women being more active in it. It's a way of resisting, a way we have to express ourselves, a way to show we are here too and we can do it.
Despite its relevance, One of the many challenges capoeira faces in Brazil is the lack of recognition of the practice itself and capoeira masters. There are many cases of elder masters that die without getting the recognition they deserve, although they are the ones responsible for keeping capoeira alive and teaching this ancestral knowledge to future generations.
A gente tem grandes mestres da capoeira.
We have great capoeira masters with tremendous knowledge that in a world that is becoming more and more media-centered, a short-termist world, have been put aside or have been used just to take a photo for people to say that we are with the capoeira master. It isn't always that they can say what they know.
More than a game, a fight, or a dance, Capoeira de Angola is a living ancestral practice that came from Africa. It is resistance that strengthened the fight for liberty in Brazil. Capoeira de Angola is a memory that withstands and that is taught from generation to generation in every practical action and tradition told.
Did you like the show? So hit the like button and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We'll see you next week.